Well, I gotta start going to see some more movies by myself. Because the movies I'm seeing by myself are turning out to be awesome. Between Manchester by the Sea, Fences, Arrival, I did see Almost Christmas by myself. But anyway, so I finally got around to seeing Manchester by the Sea. It's been playing here in Springfield for a couple of weeks, but holidays being the holidays, taken me a couple of weeks to get around to seeing it. And in Manchester by the Sea, Casey Affleck stars as a character named Lee Chandler, whose brother, played by Kyle Chandler, passes away due to a heart condition, and he leaves Casey Affleck to be the guardian of his son, and his son is 16 years old. And everything seems like it would be fine. He's got enough money to relocate to Manchester where the kid lives. He can stay in the house. The kid's going to be 18 in a couple of years. Everything seems financially okay for him to take this over. But a problem arises, as we see into the movie, where it wouldn't necessarily be good for Casey Affleck's psyche to move away and go back to Manchester. And I really love how this film is structured. When we're first introduced into the story, it's nothing confusing or anything like that. We see a guy who seems to be a loner, seems to be down a lot, drinks a lot, gets in bar fights, gets into fights with people at his job. He's a janitor. But we don't really know why, but it's also not confusing at all. But what I love about the movie is that it uses little bits of flashbacks as exposition. The exposition isn't all just in the dialogue. Something dramatic or important will happen in the movie, and then we'll be getting little flashes to something that maybe happened a couple years ago, several years ago. It can be something very important, or it could be something like the two brothers hanging out on the boat with the little kid. It can be something like that, and it's edited together very, very nice. We get to know these characters more and more and more as the movie goes along. And I love how the movie mixes both tragedy and humor. There can be something very serious, very sad. They are dealing with death. They are dealing with grief in more ways than one. But while a character may break down, start crying, realize the weight of a situation, suddenly we'll get a moment where a couple people start yelling at each other about Star Trek, or maybe they can't find their car and they're wandering around having a very important conversation but also wondering where the fuck their car is. There can be something very humorous in the way that a character will even deliver the line of, "Can I offer you a Kleenex?" Or at a funeral where there's some miscommunication because it's very loud in there and they're trying to shout to each other across the room about whether a character wants something to eat or not. And it doesn't break any kind of tone with that. It doesn't seem like there's a giant, catastrophic tonal shift or anything like that. It's what happens in real life. Little things that can kind of make you laugh when you're dealing with some shit. And speaking of grief, this is a movie that deals with it in a much more human and realistic and funny way than a movie like Collateral Beauty, which was just purely soulless with how it dealt with grief. This is a movie that I actually could recommend to somebody if they may be going through some shit like this. Whereas I said the complete opposite about Collateral Beauty, where I said, please, for the love of God, stay as far the fuck away from this movie as you can, regardless if you're going through grief or not, but especially if you're going through grief. This one's the opposite of that. I would recommend this to somebody who is maybe going through some shit, whether it's depression or whether you just want to go see a really, really great movie. And I love movies that use vulgarity as an art form. I do, and this movie really does. I like movies that are really good about showing characters who are really great at giving each other shit. You know, they might be talking about the will or funeral arrangements, but there might be some little tangent where there'll be, yelling "go fuck yourself" to each other, or again going back to this Star Trek conversation that a couple of characters are having that will just result in them shouting fuck you" to each other, and then kind of like hugging afterwards and, you know, sharing a laugh. I like that. I love movies about people who are just great at giving each other shit. and when you have characters like that, my God, is Casey Affleck a great actor to have in a movie like that? He's wonderful in this. Every actor in the film gives a performance that would be worthy of a nomination, and Casey Affleck has a great chance of taking home an Oscar for this film. A good sign of a great actor is when they can make bad movies watchable and make great movies even better, and I feel that way about Casey Affleck. I can think of Casey Affleck movies that I've reviewed where I didn't necessarily recommend the movie, but I also remember in those reviews always talking about how he was at least great in it, whether it was like The Finest Hours or a 999, which wasn't that great, but he was fantastic in it. This is hands down one of the best movies that you'll go see in theaters this year. And not only that, I love the fact that it was crowded. And I'm not saying that every movie I see that's jam-packed is bad. That's not the case at all. You see that a lot in blockbusters and things like that. It might turn out to be a great movie, but odds are that, you know, if it's a major success at the box office that weekend, it's going to be really crowded when you go to the pre-screenings of it, which is what we do. But I love it when a movie like this is packed. And it was. It was so packed to where, like, there wasn't an empty seat. There wasn't an empty seat next to anybody in the theater. And that was really cool. I loved that the word of mouth on this movie is so strong that it's bringing a bunch of people out to go see it. So, of all the movies that are playing in the theater right now, there are a lot of great choices. We saw Fences last night, which was absolutely fantastic. This movie is even better. So if you haven't gotten a chance to see this in the theater yet, I recommend going out and supporting this movie in the theater. Don't wait for it to come on video or anything like that. Give it love, give it support, and go out and see it as soon as you can. Extremely highly recommended. See ya.